By the end of this decade, 2 in 3 job openings will require some higher education. 2 in 3. And yet we still live in a country where too many bright, striving Americans are priced out of the education they need.
The cost of a college education is rapidly rising, far more than the cost of inflation, more than even the cost of health care, but I don't hear a peep about it in the media.
The policy of student loans is a total failure. I mean, $1 trillion of debt.
The colleges need to justify what it is they're doing with our tuition dollars and our taxpayer dollars.
It's becoming more and more and more expensive to go to college.
You are seeing the potential of an economically lost generation.
And the average debt for a college senior right now is over $25,000.
It's time for Congress to stand for the rights of student loan borrowers.
Because in the United States of America, no one should go broke because they chose to go to college.
And my honey come back. Sometime I'm on a rat back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime honey come back.
The University of Minnesota bustles with sardonic young adults who don't flinch when they walk into traffic. Why the apathy and disillusionment? Maybe it's the skyrocketing tuition and the crushing student debt, propagated by a corrupt governmental system that turns higher education into an enterprise that profits off of student struggles. This is the business of higher education. In today's America, a college degree is regarded as the ticket to future prosperity by both students and parents, whatever the cost. But students are accruing enormous amounts of debt to finance their education and justify the price by looking at college as an investment that will eventually pay off. This investment is becoming possible for more and more people as credit is made readily available to manage rising tuition rates. Student debt now exceeds credit card and auto loan debt, second only to mortgages. At an annual growth rate of 7.4%, tuition has vastly outstripped the consumer price index of 3.8, and debt has amounted to $1.4 trillion. If all that debt were single-dollar bills stacked on top of each other, the stack would reach 1/4 of the way to the moon. Education has been valued in this country since its beginning, but does the federal government really care about education? It turns out college students are pretty profitable. The U.S. Department of Education makes $50 billion in profit from student loans annually, in which the government spends $69 billion on grants, plus $107.4 billion on student loans. This level of spending begs the question, could the federal government make public college free with this amount of money?
Let's say Congress wanted to do something totally crazy and make all of America's public colleges tuition free. How much more money do you think Washington would have to spend on higher education? The answer, amazingly, is none. Nada, zilch, $0 extra dollars. That's right, the federal government already spends enough money on financial aid each year to cover the annual tuition bill for every undergraduate and graduate public college student in the country.
But check this out. I mean, this is a Think Progress article, and this is to show you just what a joke it is, how the government could make public college free for all students. So tuition at public colleges came to $62.6 billion in 2012. Well, the government already spends more than that to subsidize the cost of college. So they spent $69 billion in grants, tax breaks, and work-study funds. So they spent more than what they could have paid for college tuition for all people who were enrolled in 2012. But that's not it. They also spent another $107.4 billion on student loans. So they could have spent double the amount, sent double the amount of people to school, and then some. Instead, they were pushing out all of these, spent more on loans to get all of these people in who aren't even going to get jobs afterward. So we could have free college tuition for every student that wants to enroll. And it would also make private colleges have to be more competitive.
So it seems as if the government does not have the students' best interests at heart. This current system is simply not sustainable.
Well, I think what's happened is the checks and balances with these schools. Why does it cost so much more to go to a university or to get a four-year degree now than it did 30 years ago? And the universities have to, as things tighten up and they start losing students, they're going to have to look internally and go, why are we paying so much for this, that, or the other thing, and where can we make our cuts in order to start lowering our tuition? Because we're not going to survive continuing to charge a student $50,000 a year to go to our school. Eventually, parents and students are going to start looking at this and going, why would I spend $50,000 there when I can spend $20,000 or $18,000 over here?
Growing debate over whether college is really worth it. In fact, the cost of college has increased roughly 25% over the past decade alone. The average four-year tuition at a public university, $56,000 for 4 years. For a private school, $140,000 for 4 years.
Essentially, student debt is like HPV. If you go to college, you're almost certainly going to get it. And if you do, it will follow you for the rest of your life. Because legally, student debt is a special kind of debt.
It is the most collectible kind of debt there is. It is non-dischargeable in bankruptcy. They will garnish your wages. They will intercept your tax refunds.
Students from public colleges graduate with an average of about $27,000, and students from private schools graduate with an average of about $32,000. This is the only kind of loan that cannot be expunged through bankruptcy, which is partly why lenders don't hesitate to hand them out indiscriminately. And this proliferate lending is creating a financial bubble. The current education bubble can be compared to the housing bubble that burst to create the 2008 financial crisis. Starting in 1995, banks loaned money indiscriminately, increasing the demand for housing and driving up the price of new homes. High-risk loans led to defaulting on payments in 2006, which only escalated and caused banks to go bankrupt in 2008. Likewise, after 1978, student loans were handed out with no regard to the borrower's prospective ability to pay them off, causing tuition and enrollment to skyrocket.
And also, too, the law started changing a little bit as I went through the college, because the grants and school loans that I was getting when President Carter was a president started dropping off. They weren't there. But it was just a product of the time that I was able to take advantage of some of those grants and school loans that I was able to get.
Today, all over this country, in every state in the union, you have young people who are saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm smart. Yeah, I really would like to go to college, but I don't want to leave school $60,000, $70,000 in debt in an unstable economy. I'm not going. So think of what that means to our country, in that we're wasting the intellectual capital of so many bright young people. And then on top of that, you have millions of people who have graduated college and are now deeply in debt. I talked to a woman in Burlington, Vermont, 6 months ago. Her crime was that she went to medical school and is now practicing medicine with low-income people, primary health care. Exactly what we need, because we have a crisis in terms of the need of primary health care physicians. She's doing exactly what our country needs. She graduated medical school, $300,000 in debt. All right.
The current education system can't sustain itself the way it's going right now with our student debt. We're going to have to find new solutions in order to benefit the well-being of our society and our education system as a whole.